Call of Duty for the very first time added two brand new game modes to their game. One of those, of course, being DMZ, and the other one, yeah, it's not here, but it's going to be raids. And these are both really cool concepts of games. There's a lot of other games out there that do both of these extremely well. But at the same time, there are some issues with, I guess, one inherently, the other one with Call of Duty specifically. And of course, when I talk about the issues with these, I mean, we look at DMZ and we see, like, I mean, it's fun to go extract with all that loot, but I mean, what's really the point of collecting all the loot that you're going and extracting with? And then if we look at raids, and this is a more Call of Duty problem, I mean, how exactly are you going to decide your loadout in order to go into these raids? I mean, sure, we have the kits from Spec Ops, but what about your guns and your attachments and all that? How is that going to be decided? Are we just going to have a created class and pick our perfect setup from the get-go without having to do any work before that? I mean, that would be a little bit weird because, I mean, you think of all the other, like, top tier raid games out there, like Destiny 2, like those games, it's not like you just jump on Destiny 2 one day and then play a raid and do it successfully. No, that's not how it works. First, you have to level up your character, then you have to play other aspects of the game in order to collect loot, whether it be armor, guns, or whatever it may be, in order to then get the good loot, and then and only then you could go attempt these raids and try to beat them, because now you have that better loot, you are better well equipped to beat that. And to me, this is one of the main reasons why raids work so well in Destiny 2, because not only do you have to prepare for these raids before and get looted up and all that, but on top of that, when you do complete these raids, they give you even more exclusive loot, and it's kind of that reward for beating them outside of just the fact that you beat them, or maybe storyline stuff. Like, it gives you more and more reasons to actually play those raids. But in our current idea of how raids are going to work in Modern Warfare 2, like, we don't have any of that. I mean, we don't exactly know how the loadout system is going to work in this. We don't know if it's going to be tied to anything, or we're just going to get a created class and get whatever we want and it doesn't matter. But that's kind of the reason why I'm making this video, because I do think there is a very easy way to fix all of these problems, and you could get that same idea that we have in Destiny 2 with looting up beforehand and getting ready to go do the raids, and that is from what I've already mentioned, DMZ. Because DMZ is an extraction game mode. The whole point of that game mode is to go in there and collect loot. Like, that's the whole idea. And wouldn't it only make sense for us to get that loot that we collected and use it for something bigger, and not just for your next run of DMZ? Because to me, this has always been the biggest problem with extraction game modes. Like, you're collecting all this loot, but for what? Like, what is the point of collecting all this loot? And this is why I've always thought, ever since the original announcement of raids and DMZ, I've been thinking, like, my gosh, would it not be perfect if they tied the loot systems between these two game modes together? Because it would fix both problems with both of these game modes. It could finally give you a reason to collect any specific type of loot that you normally wouldn't get in DMZ. Like, for example, how many of you have actually exfilled with a bazooka or something like that? Or how many people have exfilled with the deagle or any gun that really isn't that useful most of the time? Well, I bet not many of you. I know I haven't. The only guns I exfil with are guns I know are just traditionally good, like ARs and SMGs. I don't think I've exfilled with an LMG before outside of the RPK. Like, I haven't really exfilled with any of those, because there's no point to exfil with any of those, because you know those aren't ever really going to help too much in your future runs of DMZ. Sure, there might be an exception here or there, but overall they're not going to help. But if your loot is tied to raids, then you know in the raids they're going to have some weird enemy that needs to be attacked in one specific way. And this would be the reason why you would collect those guns you wouldn't normally collect, like those bazookas, like those snipers, LMGs, or whatever it may be. Like, it would give you a reason to want to go and collect every single gun in the game, or at least the ones that you know are going to be useful in the raids. Like, just imagine how much replay replayability would be added into the game if this was done. Like, a raid comes out, then people play it, and then they figure out the best optimized way to beat it, and then they release their videos, posts, or tweets, whatever it may be, and then you look at that and say, hey, I want to have that most optimized setup, but I don't have all that stuff yet. So you know what I'm going to go do? I'm going to go play DMZ, collect that stuff, and then go play raids. And it gives you more and more reasons to play DMZ. But it just doesn't work that way. It could also work the reverse, because as I mentioned with Destiny 2 raids, like, one of the main reasons people beat raids is because at the end you get some very, very exclusive loot. And this would also work the other way around. When you get this very exclusive loot from doing the raids, it's now in your loot system, and now you could use it for DMZ, and it'll make whatever it may be incredibly more easy. Maybe it'll be a gun that instantly deletes juggernauts, or instantly deletes the M13 toxic boy, whatever his name is. Like, stuff like that would just work really well, and can make both of these game modes just complement each other so much. It can give people the reason to play both of them over and over and over again. DMZ, you would want to play more because you want to have that specific type of loot in order to have the most optimized setup to beat the raids. And then when you beat the raids, you get that very exclusive loot that is not only exclusive and probably could be reused for doing the raid over again, or a different raid, but on top of that, maybe it's optimized to make your runs in DMZ a lot smoother, or make the more difficult things a lot easier. Just thinking of reasons like this just makes it obvious to me that the loot systems should be tied together in these two game modes. It just fixes the problem with both of these game modes. It gives you a reason to collect all the crazy different guns and stuff in DMZ, and raids, of course, by completing them, gives you more replayability in the raids and DMZ itself. And to me, if they do this, which I've heard people say they are, but I don't really know where this information is coming from. But if they do, if not at the launch of the first raid, then maybe sometime down the line, if they do it, it would be the coolest thing that they've ever done with these game modes ever, which, I mean, is a bit weird saying because it's the first time either of these game modes have ever really been a thing in Call of Duty, but it would be absolutely sick, and I imagine many of you guys would probably agree with me on this one. Regardless though, that's going to wrap it up for me, and honestly, I'd love to hear what you guys think of this idea. Do you guys love the idea of this, hate the idea of it, or just anything like that? Let me know down in the comment section below. Regardless though, that's going to wrap it up for me. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely do all that normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, or any of that great stuff. But I'm going to go, and I'll catch you guys next stream, video, or when the heck it may be, and laters guys.